Hello, it's History Boy, and I'm running myself a bath, get going, and yeah, this is a Ruminations video that's apparently hopefully going to be quite great for all the voice converse stuff. Yeah, that's a good app to use, converter.app. Just go on there. You know, for anyone who's still getting into YouTube editing or any kind of other video editing, you know, where you use like Dailymotion or I guess Adobe Studio and all that kind of stuff, then you can go on there and load that, and obviously depending on the file size it will take so many minutes, but yeah, this is a Ruminations video. I've been ruminating since about last night, and so yeah, so Henry VIII had loads of you know, bastard kids. One of the most infamous, one of his eldest bastard kids by Bessie Blount, who was from kind of almost noble ne'er-do-well kind of family with connections to aristocracy. Royals, much like how Anne Boleyn's folks were, or you know, and Lady Jane Grey's family were, or they tried to get into that kind of environment, and politics, and all that kind of stuff. But what people might not know about Henry Fitzroy, I mean, technically, I already addressed this, I think, on Fun Facts episode 44, which was about Henry I, who also had Henry Fitzroy, illegitimate kid as well. So Fitzroy sounds like it's a leftover Plantagenet/Norman kind of junior name, but not legitimate junior name. So I think Fitzroy may have gone by Blount or by some kind of stepfather's name, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, I think by the time of his death, he and his wife were planning to have a kid. So this is like a I guess connected multiple ruminations thing in one, if that makes any sense. I mean, you'll get the gist. If I don't know how it works or how it worked in Tudor England or in like just medieval times and pre and post Renaissance times, where if the potential grandson of the king had more claim to being an heir or getting privileges than the parent that was illegitimate, because you know the grandson isn't illegitimate. So it made me wonder if Henry Fitzroy and his wife managed to conceive, whether it be a daughter or, let's say, ideally in the whole Henry VIII's kind of driving ambition for an heir, you know, a grandson, would he have more claim to being a Tudor and being at the top of the tree, so to speak, that, you know, once his dad picks it, then his dad, and would there be conflicts with Edward and Elizabeth and Mary? You know, for this is their nephew, so imagine being succeeded by your own nephew. And oh yeah, and if Henry Fitzroy somehow if they got around or his father managed to ignore the whole legitimacy rule, would he, if Henry took over the illegitimate kid, but the eldest son nonetheless, would he be like would he be Henry the Ninth, or would he go by another regnal number, like for example, one of his, if he had like a middle name, or would it, for example, because, and this was like a weird thought to me, Arthur was very nearly, you know, Tudor king, until he died. He died young. So would Henry Fitzroy be like Arthur first, or some kind of I guess kind of, I don't know how it works, temporary kind of governmental, yeah, king, kind of backed up by, like, I guess, early parliamentary stuff. I mean, I know there wasn't really parliament, as we know now, until around Charles I. But would he have been like, for example, Arthur Praetor or something like that? I don't know. Maybe some semi-governmental Latin kind of term they probably would have used in 500 years ago. So yeah, going back a little bit, I think my proper main rumination now is would the grandson that never was of Henry Tudor, Henry VIII, whatever, through Henry Fitzroy being a potential successor, you know, more than his dad. So yeah, that's sorry if I seem in a rush. It's just pacing, getting some sort of exercise, and again waiting for the bath to run. So yeah, let me know what you think. It was just something partly to do that I had in my mind since last night, like I said. Sorry to flog a dead horse, so to say. But you can kind of make out what I said. There's loads of noise round here. That's the trouble with living on a junction that's between everywhere and kind of not exactly middle of nowhere, but anyway, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sure, as they say, SCFU and all that. So yeah, that was another Ruminations video that I thought I'll make it or what if, I mean they're all kind of what ifs anyway, in a way that, like, what if history, that could be an idea for a book actually. And speaking of books, you know, thank you to that one person who checked out my Laundryman Chapter 1. That's, you know, an original story, and I got a few kind of spin-offs and prequels in mind for that as well, where they all interconnect. So yeah, cheers and bye bye. So this is a little follow-up video regarding a Ruminations episode. The one of the last ones, one of the more recent ones I did, about Henry Fitzroy, son of Henry VIII, eldest bastard son of Henry VIII, and towards the end of the video I mentioned, well, it dawned on me that actually a book based on his potential children that never were, what if he had kids? So yeah, this is going to be part of this little short. I will, obviously I'll allude to the video in the description, because there's an option to do that on shorts. if this just does actually get uploaded as a short, because YouTube picks and chooses what constitutes as a short and what doesn't, depending on how you edit stuff and how it's uploaded and blah de blah de blah. So I'm gonna, put I'm gonna put the the images in there. There's gonna be a little screenshot in there too of from my document, Word document book ideas. Oh yeah, and thanks very much to the 2 viewers and counting that have read the first chapter I uploaded of one of my original stories, The Laundrymen. And if I feel like it, or if you'd like, or vice versa, I'll put a link to that video in there as well, if if there's any potential interest. I mean, it is kind of a history thing anyway as well, more or less. But anyway, I'll stop wittering on about that, and check the the images out in the video of this video. Anyway, yeah, that's it. Hey up, it's History Boy, and once again been sort of ruminating for some inspiration, and it's fitting that I say that, because yes, this is another Ruminations video. Now, those of you who may not know, I did one of my fun facts videos. I did a one about Otto, Duke of Aquitaine, who gets kind of sidelined by Charles Martel, or Charles Martel if you prefer, the Frankish warrior who drove the Moors out of France, and Otto, Duke Otto was the one who was the leader, the upper class leader, whatever, who was the first to be defeated by the Moors. He wasn't killed. He just lost. I mean, his men were obviously killed and stuff, because that's what happens in battle, in wars. So Charles Martel was the one who basically quashed the Moorish invasion through the rest of France, or the Frankish tribes, kingdoms, whichever you prefer. I suppose they're all kind of the same thing, because for example, like in mythology, they refer to in Norse mythology, they refer to Odin as all those things. They refer to him as a king. They refer to him as a chief. They refer to the kingdom of Asgard, but also the Aesir tribe from Asgard, that kind of thing. But back on point. So this little Ruminations video thing is a kind of it is very much an alternate history thing. Sorry if I sound like I'm coming and airing and sort of repeating myself. There it is again. Had a sort of a busy, very active kind of couple of days, and went for a nap. Did a few puzzles and stuff to, get the old wheels turning. So yeah, we all know. I mean, history buffs out there know that the Moors, they settled, conquered, it's most of Spain, most of southern Italy, parts of Portugal, established all the Arabic influence and stuff. I mean, it's still very prevalent in like leftover dialect and regional kind of thingamajigs of Spain. For example, Andalusia is derived from its older name, Al Andalus, I don't know what it means, but it's of something in Arabic, and yeah, and in Andalusia, they have I think I mean those of you who are that are Spanish out there, feel free to cut in and comment and or whatever and all that kind of stuff. Um, where instead of just all the time saying ole, it's olai, and I was wondering why. For example, the frame of reference is because in the to paraphrase Paulie Walnuts from The Sopranos, um, you don't have to watch TV to figure out the world, but it can teach you, you know, it can teach you parts of the world, or in this case, history, which, it's very fitting, I suppose. And yeah, Javier Bardem's character, Armando Salazar, he says that kind of phrase. He says "Olé" as opposed to "Ole." He says "Ole" once, but mostly "Olé," and he's supposed to be. It's supposed to imply that he's supposed to be from Andalusia. But back to the Moorish the Moorish question, the Moorish hypothesis, if you will. Um, yeah, so I was there trying to kind of think to myself, and this is comments are always open. I definitely encourage comments, and so this ruminations thing with the alternate history thing is what if, and this isn't like a permanent thing. What if, like, for hundreds of years, the Moors managed to, post defeating the Frankish the Frankish leaders, um, what would you know, what would have happened? Would France have been? I personally think that a myriad of things could have happened, either alternatively instead of the other, or all of them over many years. So, say that one uh, Duke Otto forms an alliance peace treaty thing with the Moorish leader, who I can't remember the name of right now. Yeah, so that he doesn't fall back, try to bide his time, and then turns to to Charlie Martin, Charles Martel, for help. Charles the Hammer. So he doesn't turn to him. Would they? Yeah, would Charles Martel come into it still? Would he try to deal with them both and fail, or would he just not have, come along, or would Martel have been like, assassinated or something for being like a rabble rouser or whatever? I mean, I need to look more into my Frankish history. The ancestors of Charlemagne, who is also the ancestor of every Caucasian person born since the year AD 800 and something. Yeah, I found that out on QI. Um, yeah, apparently every white person. I prefer Caucasian. It sounds more terminology like like how kind of vaguely. It sounds vaguely biologist and nature documentary like. I'm not doing it for like pretentious. Oh, white is offensive. No, 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 no. It doesn't matter. Um, yeah, every Caucasian person living today is at least distantly maternally related, cousin kind, many times cousin related, cousin removed times from Charlemagne and his kids. So maybe that's a weird thing as well. Maybe us those of us also, this is a weird alternative thing too. Maybe us that are all us white people today would have either wouldn't be around today. Those of us who've got even a bit of white ancestry, wouldn't be alive today, or we'd have different ancestors. Maybe we'd have more Arab ancestors. You know, sort of like a leftover from medieval Spain and Italy. Yeah. Yeah, it might be true. I mean, I mean, I joke about it, but it might have turned out that way. If that makes any sense. It does to me anyway. Um, but yeah, the first point about Martel being whacked or failing to deal with Otto and the Arab leader, and then scenario two maybe would be um, you have divided states. Yeah, states or early states. I don't know if there were such things as states in general. Um, you know, in the year 770 or whenever it was. Um, so yeah, there'd be like early statehoods. One that's Muslim. Yeah, Muslim France. Probably in the south, and then I reckon that the Frankish, some of the Frankish um, rulers would take their wares, their up to kind of the north. So yeah, I reckon there'd be kind of not squabbling, but kind of attempts at like peace treaties, kind of like what um what the Northumbrians and the Northumbria. There was King Aila, and then there was Ethelstan. Um, Aila. If you watch Vikings, Aila played by Ivan Kay, who was actually more of a comedic actor. Um, to start with, he was one of the main farmers in Green Grass, the Only Fools and Horses spin-off. Um, you know, British comedy aficionados will know. Boise. It's Boise. It's Boise from Boise and Marlene from Only Fools and Horses. That they get basically, not to spoil it and to kind of cut it short, they get in trouble with two Cray twins types, and they bugger off to the country out of Peckham, somewhere in, I suppose, either Gloucestershire or Cornwall. But yeah, that's besides the point. As Dashi XP, as Raiden would say, I got him referencing a lot of people, aren't I? So yeah, the Franks. I reckon, yeah, it's comparable to the Ayla and Athelstan thing, where they'd have the separate kind of politics and houses of where they do politics things, but like wouldn't have like a separate things in, um, you know, Northumbria and then in Wessex. But in this case, it would be comparable. The comparative thing would be one Frankish up and coming Earl, Prince, King, whatever chief would be. He'd have his own thing. In let's say what's now Livorno, like in the northern Italy, kind of Switzerland, maybe Alsace, kind of like spanning through the Alsace region, and then one would be, I suppose, in sort of western France, closer to and dealing more with relations to do with Muslim the Muslim side of France in the south, because the Moors, their tactic was they would go through the south of the Mediterranean, and I tend to think the Moors also they went through southern Portugal at least, and then or western southwest Portugal, then southern Italy, then southern Spain. Yeah, yeah, because I think from where they were, you know, geography wise, map wise, you go, down from Algeria, um, Morocco kind of area into the Mediterranean, and then you go down that south. Um, and I think they tried to push north, but I think they probably got battered too by some northern Spaniards. Or they just maybe just didn't bother. But I think they just because they conquered the south. I think they just got like a bit complacent and a bit cocksure of themselves after hundreds of years or 100 years. Um, or maybe did they? I can't remember if they invaded Spain. I mean France first. Anyway, it gets very complicated. But yeah, I think basically what it was is they started from the south of the Mediterranean in general, or they saw that the south was the most there was most the more to gain from going into the south. You get there and there's the big cities and the trading ports and what have you, and things land to set right on the doorstep to set up and deal with trade with merchants and politicians and all, and religious types and all the rest of it. So yeah, yeah, there'd be Muslim in my yeah in conclusion, in my opinion, say that you know Duke Otto and leader of the Moor of that battle of the Moors of that time um did either in a truce thing, or Otto was forced to move to the other side of the well, I say country. It wasn't really a country. It wasn't united or whatever, was it? Maybe not. But yeah, um, yeah, there'd be like Muslim France in the south or west, and then there'd be maybe Duke Otto doing his own, well, trying to keep the peace on the border, maybe, or negotiating with the Moors, having political bloody bloody blahs with them, and then maybe Charles Martel, provided that he didn't get whacked, or some relative of say that he got whacked, or just erased, whatever, didn't become a massive factor in the end because he didn't win. He didn't. He didn't batter the Mars a second time around in Duke Otto's stead. Um, I would say that yeah, that there'd be the Frankish chiefs um one in kind of Switzerland. What? Yeah, not bad. Sorry, that was my old man. Yeah, that's the trouble with having to cohabit and not have your own place. Um, and I'm a bit rubbish when it comes to editing, cutting stuff out. So yeah, back to yeah. The conclusion would be that basically there'd be Moorish France or whatever, partly Moorish France, uh, or Western joint Western France, and then the other northern chiefs up there in the north near Switzerland and Alsace and stuff like that. So yeah, and then 100. Say that yeah. Say the rest of history follows course. There'd be um, Rollo, ancestor of William the Conqueror from Norway, or was he from Denmark? Either way, he was a Norseman, Viking, whatever. Hence, Normandy. Maybe Normandy would still be a thing, for example, but Normandy, um, it would probably. I reckon Normandy. over the centuries would have its kind of weird spats with 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 either the other with the surrounding with the surrounding chiefs from further north, and then maybe some run-ins with Otto's commission, as it were. And I reckon, I was going to say the Moors might interfere with them, but I reckon the Moors probably wouldn't. They'd probably, say that in this scenario, the Normans stick to their kind of leftover Viking type of ways. So they were tradesmen too, and so on and so forth, and slavers, unfortunately, but that's how it was in parts of the world. And over the years, slave has kind of changed, but that's controversial too. But yeah, in that sense, I reckon Normans would have allied a lot with the southern France through the Moorish influence being kind of there or left over at the time. Maybe 300 years, 400 years later or something like that. And yeah, this was very long, wasn't it? So yeah, let me know what you think. I'm sorry for umming and ahhing. I sound like that developmentally disabled cop in a Family Guy episode. I apologise for that. I need to have a drink, maybe something to eat, mostly a drink, because I haven't drunk anything for. I went for a nap, had some bacon and eggs, went to sleep for, well, dozed on and off. Well, I just rested. I think I slept a little bit for. I probably haven't drunk anything for 5 hours, and just lying there dehydrates you. So anyway, yeah, that was a new Ruminations episode, and yeah, peace.
Y a quelqu'un qui appelle mon nom. Y a quelqu'un qui appelle mon nom. On travaille aujourd'hui, on travaille sous la pluie. On travaille au tabac. Mes mains sont noires à cochon. Mes mains sont noires à cochon. 36 jours et 36 nuits, on travaille au tabac. Oui, ma blonde, elle attend après moi. Oui, ma blonde, elle attend après moi. Je vais retourner avec beaucoup d'argent. On travaille au tabac. Boat driver.
mai uhe uhe ni ana kapuana uhe uhe kapo I kaulana kau I kanuku uhe uhe ni.
Alright, so after some thought and inspiration, here's another Ruminations video, and if you've seen my playlist of Fun with Flag Facts and seen the one about the South African flag, the previous one before the one we all know, the 1928 to 1994. This actually, now this doesn't just cover any of my possible Afrikaans audience out there, but also it covers, I'm gonna cover three peoples, for nations, whatever, if you will. South Africa, Canada, and Hawaii. Even though that's technically America, but identity-wise, that's either here nor there, depending on who you ask and heritage and stuff. So this pertains to basically all of what all these three nations in terms of flag history have in common: the Union flag or the Union Jack. Now, I always liked the even though the 1928 to 1994 South African flag is supposed to be seen, in modern times, and since Nelson Mandela got a say in politics and blah blah blah, that the Union Jack. There's like a third flag within the flag as well, I can't remember what that is. I think that's like representative of like, I suppose, nearby Namibia or just Southern Africa in general. But there's the orange Free State flag, or like Dutch, the original Netherlands flag with the Union Jack, and then the third one, which I think it represents like an updated Orange Free State thing, or represents Africa, Southern Africa, But to stop talking twaddle about that, what are your opinion, first, Afrikaners, what are your opinions on, say, the old flag? Do you miss the old flag? Or do you like the... How many of you actually are kind of neutral about the flag, and which one? How many of you about the current flag, and which one are you? And then those of you who think it sucks, basically, feel free to comment. And next, you Canucks out there, are you proud of the current flag? You have the maple leaf, which you've officially had since about 1960. It's amazing how modern the flag is. And I think it used to be, if I remember, I think it might be to do with the province or something, but I can't remember as a whole. But there's at least a Union Jack pre 1960, and possibly a grizzly bear or something like that. But maybe it's speaking of Nelson Mandela, Mandela effect, which has nothing to do with Nelson Lala Mandela, played brilliantly by Idris Elba in the biographical film. So yeah, I mean, I think my take on it is that the flag I would. I mean, I'm not Canadian, but I suppose in terms, I'm gonna go off a bit of tangent here, but due to some World War II stuff, it's possible that either my biological great granddad was either at least an Afrikaner or a Canadian, or an Italian prisoner of war, or whichever. That's what my uncle tells me anyway. The last one. But yeah, the flag. I think how I picture it, I would have. I think there used to be. Yeah, I think there used to be a flag where, again, one of the province things where it was an Inuit or an Indian and some like Acadians, like proto Louisianan Cajun people, basically shaking hands or something like that. So I'd have something like that, like maybe like a feathered spear type thing on one corner, some kind of hat, some kind of migrant worker hat or something like that, and then maybe a Union Jack, but coloured, maybe coloured in the French kind of way, at least. I know they have similar colours throughout the French flag and some parts of the Union Jack, but yeah, more emphasis on the, I guess, orange or something. I get mixed up with flags sometimes, especially when they look similar. Like for example, Italy, and speaking of Italy, kind of by tangentially, Ireland and Italy's flag look very similar. And if you're slightly colourblind when it comes to orange and red, like I am, I get mixed up between them all the time. But Italy's dark is red, medium red, and Ireland, its last colour, similar with Italy, is like a dark orange, like a medium dark orange. Might be to do with, maybe there's a connection. Maybe it's to do with like Catholicism to some degree. But yeah, all right. I'm going to finish up with Hawaiians, and this includes everyone in Hawaii. The ones, the descendants of the Hawaiians that have been in the on the island longer than anyone else. Like kind of Polynesian types, related to, and this is like a fun fact thing, all related to like the Samoans and also the Maoris. They're all surprisingly related to each other, which is quite interesting. Like in Moana, it kind of makes sense that one of the I've seen the trailer for Moana 2, and one of them has a vague kind of posh sounding, I guess, sort of Kiwi New Zealand thing, which makes sense to me actually. Even though this was probably like 3,000 years ago when no one talked English, but it's a Pixar film, so what? I'm overanalyzing it. But yeah, seeing as Hawaii is an American state, and I saved a playlist from someone where it was like different American state flags, and Hawaii's one has a Union Jack on it, and it's been that since, like that ever since. So what's your opinion on the Union Jack being left on your island's flag? you're not bothered? Do you like it? Do you want to make a change? For example, the New Zealanders a lot of New Zealanders have been wanting to change New Zealand's flag, replace the Union Jack with something else, and or similar to the Canada thing, keep it on there but put something else there other than the Southern Cross. But yeah, that was another Ruminations video for specifically for South Africans, Canadians, and that includes French Canadians actually. Because it's it's all one country, and Hawaiians. So yeah, I'll stop rambling on and upload this now.